My name is Elena. The night our husbands introduced us wasn't meant to be anything special, just a quiet double dinner, 4 adults sitting around a table, pretending their lives were neatly arranged. But when she walked into the restaurant, something in me faltered. Her name was Claire. Soft brown hair pulled into a careless knot, a tired elegance in the way she moved. She smiled politely at me, but her eyes held something deeper, something that made my breath catch for a moment. We shook hands. Static flickered at the tips of my fingers. The evening unfolded gently. The men talked about work, politics, all the things they liked hearing themselves discuss. Claire and I exchanged glances. Small, stolen, private. There was a warmth in her presence, like she carried her own quiet atmosphere. At one point, she leaned slightly toward me to pass a dish, and her shoulder brushed mine. The softness of that accidental touch lingered long after she pulled away. She whispered, "They talk too much." I laughed, too quietly, too honestly. As dessert arrived, she looked at me across the candles, the tiny flame reflected in her eyes. Something shifted between us, a silent recognition, a beginning neither of us could admit out loud. When we said goodbye outside, the cold air wrapped around us, but her gaze held a warmth that stayed with me the entire drive home. And I knew, even then, that nothing about tonight would fade. Something had changed, quietly, irreversibly. The next morning, Claire texted me, "Did you sleep?" I stared at the screen far too long before admitting, "Not really." We met for coffee, an innocent choice, neutral ground, something no one would question. But when she walked into the cafe, her eyes found mine instantly, and all pretense dissolved. We sat by the window, the morning light casting soft gold across her features. "I don't know what last night was," she said quietly, "but I felt it." "I did too," I whispered. There was no rush, just a slow unfolding, like the warmth of sunlight reaching frozen glass. We talked about our lives, our marriages, the silence inside them, how lonely it felt to stand beside someone who no longer saw you, and how strange it was that we had seen each other so clearly in one evening. At one moment, Claire looked down, fingers tightening around her cup. "I didn't expect this." "Neither did I." Her hand moved slightly, almost as if reaching for mine, then paused. But the intention was enough. I felt it everywhere. Outside, people hurried through their day, unaware that inside this small cafe, 2 women were quietly rewriting their futures. And when we finally stood up to leave, she stepped closer, just close enough that her breath brushed my cheek. Not a touch, not a confession, but a promise. A promise that whatever had begun between us was only beginning.